Okay, hi. I just wanted to do a quick video about something that I find very useful, which is playing line cliches. What's a line cliche? A line cliche is a little chromatic figure that we can use to introduce a little bit of movement into a static chord, really. So a classic example that most people kind of know in the jazz world is this My Funny Valentine style progression, which is we can start on a C minor chord, and we go blue skies, any of these sorts of tunes, and that's just going in a minor key, 1, 7, flat 7, 6, like that, right? And you can turn these into, you can do various things to make it, spruce it up and make it a bit more interesting. Classic example is, of course, for most guitar players. So I think that's a really useful thing. Excuse me. I'm not going to be talking much about how we use these on minor chords. I might do a separate video on this actually, because it is a useful thing to know. For example, we can go from Stairway to Groovin' High. Same line cliches in a different way, right? These things are very useful for playing on minor chords and also dominants, but I'll just put that aside for a minute. I will concentrate on line cliches in a major key, so this can be maybe part 1, although I'm not sure if I'll ever get around to making part 2, we'll have to see. But hopefully this will give you a window into it. The very most important, I think, line cliche in major key harmony is the, excuse me, I've suddenly got this frog in my throat, is 3, 4, sharp 4, 5. So it's basically what happens when we join a third to a fifth in a major chord. It's good to get used to playing that in a few different places. You'll see this a lot. The example I'm thinking of is actually a bebop example. It's nice because this is the middle 8 of Anthropology. It's nice, it gives us two different kind of takes on that. Gives us a rhythmic thing. 1, 1, 2, ba, bo, dee, ba, ya, bo. So we have a 4-1. It's fully chromatic. And then just diatonically up the scale, which is, so it's 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, like that, okay? So I mean, it's important, this rhythmic thing is the extra note in the chromatic, which gives us this, in the key of B flat. It's something about it swings a little bit, if we just go diatonically. It's nice to have that 4-1. The 4 notes, I'm not really necessarily making much sense of it. The idea 4 notes gives us a different rhythm. It's ba ba do bon. It's intrinsically syncopated, and of course this is the monk tune, Blue Monk. So try that again. Okay, so that's I was using a couple of other line cliches as well, which I want to talk about. But that gives you the idea. So, I mean, there's actually a surprisingly large amount we can do with this. For example, this progression, sort of this set of notes, really, can be used either way. Can be used as a bass line. Excuse me. A good example would be A Smooth One by Benny Goodman to Straight Charlie Christian. I'm having trouble with my mouth today. So, the key of F, and that's 3, that's 5, 5, sharp, 4, 4, 3, like that, for example. One of the most, sorry, it's absolutely disgusting, I do apologise, but I'll carry on anyway. So another common way to use it is to have a sort of a sustained note in the treble. This is called a bleak motion for you classical guys, and we just keep playing that against the line cliche. So it's 1 against the 3 going to 5. What we're doing really is defining that B flat in an interesting way. But that's actually the riff from Eddie Harris Freedom Jazz Dance. But for me, this kind of stuff goes back to bassy, right? It's kind of a bassy sort of vibe. You know, the classic bassy ending goes 4 sharp 4 5, so it's not the whole thing, but it gives you an idea. And you've got the Duke Ellington ending, like that, right? Which is using everything's diatonic apart from that little climb up chromatically. So it's a very common little figure. And of course, another one would be. The theme, it's called. It's often played at the end of the night jam sessions, but it's a rhythm changes tune, right? So that means we can use this thing to play through rhythm changes, right? So using another line cliche there, which I'll talk about in a minute. Probably the first guy I really noticed doing this was Brandon Allen, sort of well-known London sax player, really great player. I mean, obviously other players use it, but for some reason I was listening to him play one night, this is a while ago, and I was saying, oh, he just plays all these line cliches going up and down at this point in his playing, and it kind of made me think, oh, maybe that's a thing. And then I checked them out in other musicians as well, and I found this was something very common that people would use, you know, just to give a bit of motion to otherwise quite bland harmony. You know, if you're playing over rhythm changes, you can basically stay in B flat for most of it and just use these little, I mean, Lester Young kind of just stays in B flat a lot of the time. That kind of thing, right? Sort of thing that would be quite familiar to rock and blues guitar players, you know. Because that's where it comes from. It comes from people like Charlie Christian, from Lester Young, and then into people like Chuck Berry, right? So, you know, the whole sort of rockabilly, what we call now rockabilly music, you know, those guitar players are all influenced by that kind of stuff, Western swing as well. So anyway, that you can kind of spruce that up by using those line cliches to make it a bit more interesting. And it's a good way of getting out of that kind of thing of just, you know, kind of playing loads of notes and arpeggios all the time, or scales or whatever. In terms of what this is as a chord progression, you can actually look at it as a chord progression. I mean, I look at it as being a sort of B flat major going up to like C minor 7, then D flat diminished 7th, and then like B flat 6th. Now, the devotees of Barry Harris will tell you that chord progression has some interesting features to it, but I'm not going to go into that. You can see that hopefully that's really tight voice leading, but there's a lot of movement going on. There is another line cliche in that chord progression which I'm going to get into in a minute, but I just want to do a descending one now, which is flat 7, 6, flat 6, 5. So going down from the flat 7 down to the 5, and again it's like that kind of blues tonality. That's the other one I used in my rhythm changes example. So I'll be going. So flat 7, 6, flat 6, 5, right? And that gives you the sound of a different chord progression, which is this one: B flat, B flat 7, E flat, E flat minor 6th. So that is the sort of second little bit of rhythm changes, or you know, from bars 5 to 6, you get that little turnaround. And because those chords whiz by so quick, sometimes it's a pain in the bum to try and catch every single one. So it's quite useful to use these little line cliches to do that. The other one, which is 3, 4 sharp 4 5, well, that's the bass line to the other variant of that particular turnaround, which is B flat 7, or B flat over D in that case, E flat major, E diminished 7th, B flat. We can add other line cliches. We can put them in contrary motion even. Let me just try that. So that'll be sixth, won't it? Sorry, that'll be this. Let's do it that way. Oh, sorry, let's try that again. So we're doing both together at the same time, which is kind of a familiar sound actually. So that's a really big thing. Boom, bum, 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 ba 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 bo de ba bum. Daphne, right, by Grappelli and Django. There's another good example of that. So in the case of Daphne, it's boom, bum, bum, bum. It's in D, right? So you come down, the flat six going to 3. It's another classic line, you hear that a lot. Yeah, so it's quite fun what we can do with these things, like bleak motion, all of that kind of stuff. We need the music for comping. And then, you know, you can just use that, just 2-note things, you don't even need to play full chords, but these are implying chord progressions, or at least they're implying movement. Chord progressions are just a manifestation of movement, right? And as you go through these line cliches, especially if you group them together and, you know, you sort of put 2 lines together, you'll start to see all kinds of chord progressions emerge. I'm just going to move on to the last one that I'm going... No, actually, I'll do 2 more, but I don't want us to run on for too long. This one is 1, 2, flat 3, 3, okay? It's not fully chromatic, but it could be if you want to get 5 notes, but we're just going to do the 4-note version. 1, 2, flat 3, 3. So this is Honeysuckle Rose, right? Middle 8. But it's actually in F originally. Okay, and if we put that together with our first line cliche, it's 3, 4 sharp, 4, 5, then we get this. Okay? Sorry, should be that. That is a sort of set of thirds. The chromatic one in the middle. It's usually diatonic thirds like that. But we just get it's a bit more bluesy and a bit more interesting. And we can also turn it into 6, as I just did for the honeysuckle example. And that gives us all the important movement for this progression. B flat, C minor 6th, D flat half diminished, sorry, D flat full diminished, B flat slash F, or B flat slash D, or D minor. I'll just say that again because I didn't do a very good job of explaining what that was. B flat major, C minor is C minor 6th or C minor 7th normally, D flat full diminished 7th, and then either B flat slash D, or some people use D minor 7th there, depending. But the basic movement is this. Right? And then we come in the other way. I can't give you anything but love, baby. Not really my key, but you get the idea. One flat 7, flat 7. The one I use all the time. So we go from, in this song, we go from B flat to B flat 7. So we go here, and we get that in Blue Monk as well. And then, so 1 and flat 7 is a really good one. That's just a linking phrase, really. It's just a way of getting down to flat 7. And then we have, of course, the minor ones, which are great. You know, it's just usually 1 down to 7 is a classic one. There's a James Bond as well. 5, 5, 5, flat 6, 6, flat 6, 5, right? Interesting way of dressing up a minor chord without getting too much into these arpeggios and substitutes and things. Now, by the way, the minor chord, as I pointed out in another video, a very useful thing about any minor stuff is you can put it on dominant right away. So in the case of this A flat sort of A minor sort of sound. You put that on a D7, and we get things like. You can use that as a kind of dominant. So I mean, I'm using all kinds of line cliches there. That's the example from Dizzy Gillespie, Groovin' High. You know, you can use things like. Whatever, you know, that's not the Dizzy Gillespie example, but you can turn those into chord progressions. It's nice, or so the good version is you know, you've got all kinds of different harmonizations you can make of that bass line. So 3, 4 sharp 5, and the reverse, flat 7 6, flat 6 5. The reverse is less widely used. Contrary motion. What I'm talking about. 1 2 flat 3 3, 1 7 flat 7, and in a minor key 1 7 flat 6. Sorry, 1 7 flat 7 6. Okay, those are all important ones. I'll probably do a little chart of those basic progressions and then how they relate to chords in the links, because it's a lot of information coming at you real quick. But if you only take one thing away, I want you to take away that these little chromatic moving lines can be of themselves almost like whole chord progression, things that can drive forward the harmony. So you don't really need to play massive arpeggios all the time. You can create, you know, movement just using a couple of notes. Kind of thing, right? And that gives you a chord progression. So I was hearing this sort of thing. Going on behind it, and that little, to me, that little two-note. Well, it wasn't 2 notes, but you know, I'm not playing any more than 2 sort of lines against each other with just one cliche each time. Gives a little bit of a kind of the feeling of that chord progression. Lastly, I just want to sort of talk very quickly about progression, which has come up a little bit in the comments and stuff, which is this long kind of Cole Porterish turnaround, which I'm going to do in the key of F, and it goes B half diminished, and let's do it in C. So this is from Night and Day. It's in the key of C, right? F sharp half diminished, F minor 6th. E minor 7th, or actually I probably more normally play, an inversion of C major, so C slash E, E flat diminished, D minor, C, D7, G7, sorry, and C, okay? So it's like, but you can see right away there's a voice leading pattern, well there's a bass line, chromatic bass line. And if we put that together with the thirds, minor, 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 minor. So that's fairly straightforward. So it's just going down at the same speed. We start on the F sharp for the first chord, F sharp half diminished, and the other note starts on the A. Intense. It's a good way to think, by the way, tenths and stuff. Tenths are like common for the stride piano and things like that. If I put the C in, if I just put a sort of static C in, let's see how that works. Yeah, that's nice. So what I'm doing there is I'm kind of going, yeah, sustaining that tonic note as we did with R. And this time we're going from flat 5, you know, that. So it'd be like that, and then the other line is on the third, so starts on the A, which is the 6th. Okay, so it's a longer line. We enter familiar territory down there. So those two things together, I'm thinking about the rest of the harmony in there. It's always good to look at the voice leading. So the first one, yeah, and then that'll be be. So those are the only two chromatic lines in. I think the rest of it's pretty much diatonic. So I was soloing over that progression. One way of doing it would be going. That diminution. That's nice actually. So you go. Something like that, you know. Get the idea. There's the other line cliche as well, which is on the root, but that's kind of less interesting. But we could play it, the F sharp thing, which would be the flat 5, of course, of the key. So. Yeah, I don't like that. I find it harder to do, but yeah, the idea, and it kind of gives you all that movement without you having to dick around with loads of arpeggios all the time, because arpeggios get a bit wearying on the ears. They just go up and down, whereas using these line cliches gives you the opportunity to make more interesting chord progressions, and you can use them as well to dress up, you know, boring static chords like Dinah just sits on F for ages. So if you get a bit bored of that, you can go. And go to the 5 chord, right? So, what should we do? Yeah. We'll go. This is a way of introducing movement over the top of that, you know, without having to make it sort of really kind of arpeggio-y and bebop-y necessarily. Although these also structurally form the basis of bebop lines as well. Anyway, I've only given you some of them. I mean, there's other line cliches as well that you will discover, and really everything's to do with the rhythm. So if it's a 4-note line cliche, it'll have like 4 notes in it, obviously, and that'll have 1 rhythm. But a 6-note line cliche will have a different rhythm, or a 5-note one, you know. So you're going to find these chromatic lines. Just look out for them in chord progressions and use them to shape your melodic lines when you solo over chord progressions. Or even when you don't, you know, just because it will give you a bit more movement in your playing, and then you won't have to track all the changes using complicated arpeggios, which can sometimes make your playing sound a bit much, or at least I think so. Anyway, I hope that's use and you enjoyed it. Any notes, please stick them below. I'll try and do a handout so that at least you've got some kind of written record of what I've been burbling about. Enjoy. Thanks. Bye.